Hello and welcome. Thanks for making the time here this evening. My name's Adam Wiltgen. I'm the program director of the Anderson Center at Tower View. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm speaking to you from Red Wing, Minnesota, or Heymanicha, Hill Water Wood in Minnesota, Makoche, the sacred land of the Dakota people. Thank you, thank you, thank you for taking time this evening to join me for this residency information session and for your interest in applying for one of our residency programs. A recording of this residency information session will be made available on the residency overview page on the Anderson Center website before the new year. And yeah, thanks as well too to those of you that sent me some questions ahead of time. Tried my best to kind of integrate that into tonight, but I guess with just so many people participating, want to keep things general as well. So we're going to start with just like a little bit of an overview of the organization and the residency programs, followed by some information on the jury review and selection process. But the bulk of the session here this evening will be about the application materials. But I'll pause for questions after each section, and we'll also save some time for questions at the end. But yeah, like I said, tried to keep things general, and focused on the application, but we could connect to on email about specifics or other eligibility type questions. So, yeah, really quickly here, the Anderson Center at Tower View is an artist community in Red Wing, Minnesota, population about 17,000. It's been an artist community since 1995, over 900 artists and residents. It's located outside, kind of on the outskirts of Red Wing, on a 350-acre historic estate. And that includes a sculpture garden, a barn, a water tower, studios and galleries, and all sorts of fun stuff to explore. And we have 4 kind of opportunities coming up here. We'll be focusing on the ones in orange on the left here tonight, but I also want to get a shout out here for our other 2 programs, the Salzburg Exchange and the Winter Retreat. But yeah, as you know, the deadline's coming up on January 16th at noon Central Standard Time. And you can kind of see some of the differences here between the different programs. A lot more availability for the general. It's kind of open to anywhere based, anywhere in the world, anyone that does any sort of discipline. And whereas our emerging artist program is really focused on emerging artists, early career artists in Minnesota and New York City, it comes with stipends as well, thanks to the Jerome Foundation's support. Our Salzburg Exchange is open to Minnesota visual artists. It's happening in July, and then we do have a fee-based winter retreat program coming up. And if you're interested in that at all, feel free to reach out to me too. We're really prototyping that program this winter, and be happy to offer you a discounted rate to help us get that program off to a great start. So, what's unique about a residency at the Anderson Center? There's a couple of things. I think that the biggest one is that it's cohort based and it's interdisciplinary. So you are there living and working as part of a group of 5 artists in one home. And not only that, but we really tried our best to mix it up between writers and artists working in other disciplines, so that we've found that really lowers the sort of feeling of competition and really makes the exchange and the fellowship that much more rewarding. And so it's kind of a really big focus of this really unique thing, a really big focus of our residency programs. Also too, it's really a working residency where the focus is on dedicated time and space to work. There's not, outings are arranged, and there's time to explore and connect with the community, but there's not critiques and studio visits and capstones and things to distract you from really focusing on your projects. And so also too, it's a a really unique setting as well. And so there's kind of access to nature and other resources that might be applicable to your practice. It's a vibrant rural community as well. There's a lot of great enthusiastic community partners that you can connect with too. And kind of like I alluded to, it's open-ended. There's no expectations from the organization standpoint about what you'd take away from your experience. We do have folks that really will get here, they're inspired, and their work plan, maybe goes out the window to some degree or pivots because they're going in another direction, or they're focusing on research or something else like that. And other people are there to, crank out a manuscript or edit their project. So that's up to you. We trust artists to make those decisions. The only real requirement at the bottom there is the group dinners and the community engagement. Yeah, so I did get some questions kind of about the juries, and I think this is like a nice opportunity to kind of like go a little deeper than what's on the website. They're totally separate juries for each program emerging in our general program. And it's a mix of writers and visual and performance artists, and we really make an effort as well to have editors and curators. So even if you're not selected, that your work is seen by editors and curators as well, and to have a balance between Minnesota folks and folks outside of Minnesota as well. And the first round applications are reviewed by 2 jurors. Every application is reviewed by 2 jurors kind of within the disciplines as best we can to keep it equitable for each juror. And then the second round, everybody's reviewing everything too. So that's again kind of gets to the interdisciplinary sort of spirit of the program. And you're welcome to apply to both. If you're interested in both, you're certainly welcome to do that. And they're totally separate juries, so who knows what could happen. This is kind of on the website as well, but again, there's kind of some of the dates here of the selection process, where it's really kind of broken down by every 2 weeks or so there's a milestone here. But the panel that we'll be doing with the jury to select finalists is on or around the 18th, and so that sort of following week in February would be when we would be checking references and doing interviews with emerging artists. The program is getting more and more competitive, and here's some of the numbers that kind of speak to that. Additionally, our program won't be running in May and June this year as it normally would. We're doing some accessibility improvements to the residency house. So we have added a 2-week session in the first half of November, but you can kind of see the numbers here where we get 350 to 400 for the general, a little bit around 300 for emerging artists, and there's just not that many spots. We do for the general program too. We do have fellowships and exchanges, and we're still working through a little bit of deferrals from 2020 as well. But so it's a very competitive process. But what I would say related to that is what I found out, especially coming out of COVID as well, is like that wait list is really crucial, and the more detail you can provide in the application about your availability, it really makes the difference, because things can happen on short notice, and we want to be able to get a hold of you and make those connections. So please, I've added extra space in the application to really kind of provide more nuance on your availability. And this is like a little graph too I wanted to share about like just how many more applications we've been getting, but also like the balance between visual and writers. Historically, this program was founded by a poet, and having a nice house, a nice writing environment, it's predominantly been a literary residency, and that's been changing over the last few years. Our emerging program was on hiatus for a little while there, and so 2022 was the first year that we had both our emerging program and our general program in a cycle together in quite some time, since 2018 actually. So I have the kind of the numbers there at the bottom, but we're definitely getting the word out more and it's more competitive. So these are kind of like the main well, actually, before we get into this, so this is the application part. This will be the bulk of what we talk about. But does anybody have any questions, I guess, at this juncture about the process, the jury kind of stuff? Good. Okay. Well, so yeah, artist statement, work plan, work samples, and kind of some other statements as well. So with the artist statement, we do, I do get questions about, kind of what are we looking for here too, and obviously it's very short, and so for me it's really all about that kind of even the first sentence, but yeah, keeping it in first person, really kind of getting at the big idea of your practice, thinking about like the past and current work, and then obviously then connecting it to that broader arc, and making it clear like yeah, what some of your inspiration is, and what's kind of driving your practice. And I've got a couple of examples here from folks that applied the past couple years that were selected for residencies by the jury. And for me, like all of these, like the first sentence again just really jumps out. Much of my work explores the impact of familial estrangement and inherited trauma through the lens of Afro-Caribbean identity. I'm an investigative reporter who has worked for the last 15 years reporting on a diverse range of stories, focusing on how powerful interest groups can dominate the public policy and political process. I compose immersive video installations that offer multisensorial constructions of reality, and my work affirms the experience of chronic illness through poetry and printmaking. I'll draw in there. So, and this is part of the first selection criterion about artistic excellence as well. Any questions about the artist statement? Work plan. We get a lot of questions about the work plan, and I've got a couple of quotes here. This one's from actually one of our Salzburg Exchange artists that came here way back in 2012. This stay is particularly suitable for artists who want to devote themselves intensely to the realization of a concept. Here, you can devote yourself to artistic work, undisturbed and far away from everyday worries. That was 10 years ago, though. Let's hear from somebody this year. The Anderson Center strikes a balance between a quiet retreat from the busyness of daily life and stimulating experiences with other artists. It's an ideal space for creative production. And for me, that I'm really just trying to drive home kind of what I spoke to earlier about what's unique about the program, is that it really is a working residency. And so with your work plan, we really want to see that. It really is the whole kit and caboodle for the second selection criteria: potential benefit and impact on career as demonstrated by the work plan. So obviously describe the work that you need to do. Like I said earlier too, research and exploration is totally fine. Just be clear about what you want to work on or accomplish. I think the big part is like that, why here and why now? It doesn't need to be a big chunk of your work plan, but there should be a paragraph or a few sentences about what draws you to our residency program, or what about the setting, the location, maybe the cohort model of just being there with other artists. What is, how is our program connect to your practice or your project? And then really driving home that benefit and impact, especially with regard to like the timing as well. Like what do you got going on in 23 and beyond, thinking about 6-12 months after you're here, just give us a little bit of a sense of the trajectory. And I think that really you know, when I'm in these panel discussion calls with the jurors, you know, I think that that's often something that somebody will chime up and say, well, you know, they've got this going on, and here we've got somebody here that's been trying to get in here. They're joining us. Welcome, Charlotte. We're talking about the work plan here as a working residency. Hey, welcome.
Hi. Hi. Thank you. Sorry about
Yeah.
the delay. I downloaded a VPN so I can access
Right.
Canada. Sorry.
Perfect. Yeah, well, yeah, you know, so I was just kind of driving home again that, you know, this is the organization's residency program is really a working residency. And so really making it clear what you plan to work on, and yeah, and tying it to the resources or the setting or the attributes of the residency, being a cohort one, uh, is something to focus on too. And I think as well, just being realistic too about what's possible in a 2 or 4 week period of time. You know, sometimes work plans, we'll receive work plans that have like, you know, week 1 is this, week 2, and that's totally fine if you want to structure it that way versus like a narrative form. But you know, like a 4-week residency, like for us, you know, we do kind of require now for the emerging residency to that artists apply for a 4-week residency, just because of there's a lot of benefit in that too. You know, we want to have that flexibility. It's hard for folks to get away for a whole month, and we totally realize that. And so, you know, 2 weeks is a totally valid option too. But it just takes a little while to get centered and get going. And so factoring that into your work plan too, time to adjust is always important. Work samples, we get a lot of, oh, well, I guess any questions about this before we move on? Sorry. All right, work samples, we get a lot of questions about work samples. And you know, for me, I really just want to emphasize that there's many different ways to share your work samples through our Submittable platform. And so really, you know, do what's right for you, but you know, try your best to really follow the spirit of the guidelines and what's written in the portal. You know, we have you know, there's limitations to the platform that we have, or the specific plan that we have in Submittable. And so even if that wasn't the case, I still feel like, given the interdisciplinary nature of our program, and how even we support artists whose practice don't neatly fit into boxes, that you know, having some flexibility within the stated guidelines is appropriate. And so you know, making it clear that, you know, the jury too is reviewing a lot of work, especially the writers in round 1. And so, you know, anything you can do in the way you present your work samples to make it easy for them to get intrigued and really explore your strongest work, but then give them options, you know, to go deeper and follow your links and to view more. And so just something to, yeah, really think about, especially if you're a visual artist or interdisciplinary artist, especially with, yeah, non-writers, you know, thinking about like maybe submitting a PDF that combines your visuals with like you know, the context or the description and the storytelling. It can be really easy. It can be hard to like scroll through JPEGs and then jump over to a Word document with, or you know, that has the description. And so if you want to just put it all into one and design it the way you want to see it in a PDF, that can be really impactful. Doesn't work for everybody. I've seen creative nonfiction kind of journalists do this well though too. So it's writers can do it too. But yeah, Mary Ellen.
So I'm not really, I guess I'm kind of confused
Yeah.
about, so when we're in the visual arts, I'm in that zone.
Yep.
I know that it said at least 5 images. And so what would be at least 5, no more than
Yeah.
8 to 10?
Yeah.
But I'm confused about what you're saying about embedding images into a PDF doc versus with a caption or like a title,
Yeah.
as opposed to a separate sheet, like
Yeah.
something. So if there's an image, and a title and content, and then an image, and so is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, and it's just one option too. I mean, it might not be, it's totally optional, but sometimes people will too, they'll take even just within the JPEG and add the description or whatever, the title, so there's more than one way to do it. But yeah, again, yeah, keeping to the limitations of, not throwing, 20 images on one page of a PDF or whatever. But but yeah, there's ways to kind of tie together the context in different ways.
Well, I am having, one of my challenges is really, I wouldn't say professional images, but they're not, they're me taking these images, and
Sure.
and in some cases I know it's really bad, and I've tried, and I'm trying to do different things, but and I'm, and so I'm having difficulty pulling my images together to see what's appropriate given kind of like my work, my history, but what I'm planning to do is something completely different than my history. So it's like,
yeah. Well, yeah, try your best with the images.
I'll try a couple of different ways.
Yeah, but yeah, we see that a lot too. I think just, the way you sequence it can bridge that gap too, I guess. So I want to point out too that there is a space where you can include a web link. Use that strategically as well. Maybe not just sending it to your web page, but your portfolio, or again, like a clear portal where people could learn more, or maybe there's a news article or something. But yeah, definitely take advantage of that and use it strategically. And again, it's not necessarily always ideal to have to like have a Word doc with hyperlinks, because then you're sending people out a submittable, and then they have to go back in, and then. But I realize that, like, for filmmakers, for instance, it might be a little cumbersome to upload high res files or large files and get so even uploading a PDF that sends somebody to like a portfolio site or something is an option as well, given on your practice. I think that ultimately there's some takeaways here for me. When in doubt, just think that there's a real human reviewing this submission, and maybe 70 to 90 other ones just like it. And again, instead of like overwhelming or overloading somebody, just try and focus on your most compelling work, and then pique their interest to go deeper. And then be creative with and how you share the context around your work. But yeah, is there any more questions about work samples? I know sometimes like people ask like, oh, I'm a musician, can I submit lyrics? Or I do these two things, I'm a writer and something else. Should I submit a 10-page sample or a 5-page sample with something else? Again, less, whatever makes sense, as far as work sample wise. But then, like, if you're combining different things, I would say like less is more. Again, keeping in mind that just the jury's time. And so if you're submitting two different things, poetry and printmaking or something that are separate, maybe half of each is like better, but that's not a hard and fast rule either. So community engagement and emerging artist statement. The Anderson Center is one of the first programs in the country to require community engagement. And so this is a small but important kind of part of the application that just we get a lot of questions about. For us, community engagement is engaging the broader community. So there's other opportunities to engage with other artists in residence or our year-round studio artists on campus. That's kind of separate from this. And for me, if it can be mutually beneficial, win-win for both in some way, that's always great. But to get there, just sharing as much as you can about your own ideas or interests or connections is great too. And sometimes maybe it's not necessarily like tied into your project or your practice, but you've wanted to start a workshop, or you've done a workshop kind of here or there, and you wanted to develop that more or something like that. It can be a kind of like a career boost kind of a thing as well. But I should make clear too, so with this next box, we're just looking for ideas. You certainly can research opportunities or partners in Red Wing and look around about Red Wing, but unless that's like the core of your practice, kind of a social practice public artist, we're really just asking for ideas here. But that being said too, I think that like a good barometer for like how long it would take you to prepare and participate in this component of the residency would be 1 to 3 hours, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on what you're doing. And so yeah, definitely not something that like an all-day workshop session intensive or something. That's not something we would be looking for. If you really wanted to do something like that, you could. But yeah, that's beyond the scope of the requirement. And then too, like we do get asked a lot too, just about like, well, what are your biggest needs? And our strongest partners and biggest needs are really with students and seniors. And there's a great nonprofit called Hispanic Outreach of Goodhue County that we partner with a lot. That's really great too. But there's also an opportunity to host public events at the Anderson Center too, depending on what you're doing. So it doesn't always have to be going to the community, but they can come out to the Anderson Center too. The emerging artist statement, there's a lot of overlap with the work plan, and we realize that. It's just that like this is a program funded by the Jerome Foundation, who exclusively funds emerging artists, and it's part of like our goal to really advance the careers of early career artists. And so even if there's some overlap between the work plan and this statement, it's really important for us to just really push folks to explicitly reflect on how they identify as an emerging or early career artist. And there's a lot of language on our portal about how we define that. And so that's a good I know it's a nebulous term and we kind of acknowledge that, but it's great to get folks' reflection about that. Again, emphasize the timing and how this fits into what you got going on and where you could be in 6 to 12 months after the residency. And then too, this residency comes with some resources. And so, how would that impact you as well? Pull on the heartstrings, lay it on. We want to hear how being an emerging artist in residence would impact your career. Yeah, so I just want to check in here too. Any questions? If not, so an interview round is part of the Emerging Artist in Residency program as well. 20 to 30 minutes with me or residency staff. But the jury does, when they meet for their panel, really does bring some questions that we would ask and it's a phone call, I should mention as well. And we're really focusing on what I just talked about, that emerging artist impact. I mean, I think for someone to be selected as a finalist, you're meeting the excellence, you're meeting the impact, you're part of like the mix of the cohort. And it's really about determining that impact as an emerging artist. It's obviously also an opportunity to, feel each other out about the practical realities of working and living at Tower View, and any questions folks might have about that. And then eligibility is, a little bit a part of this stage as well. And ultimately, Jerome Foundation staff does approve, whoever's selected. And, if they have questions on eligibility, it's our job to follow up on that. Yeah, character references. We send out like a little survey. It's super short. It's basically, 2 questions. Please share your insights on this person's ability to utilize shared space and communal resources. Please share your insights on this person's peer relationships. This is, again, a cohort residency, and we've had all sorts of people over 27 years, 28 years participate, and so that's really the part of the main focus of this. I know that it doesn't necessarily state that on the application, but professional references are fine as well. But folks that can speak to your character, really helpful. And yeah, we did this last year for the 2022 general residency, and got everybody filled it out, and it was very helpful. And I want to talk about the facilities here. So as far as like workspaces, artists can work in the house. There's a desk in your room. There's lots of common spaces as well. There's, if you're a visual artist, there's 2 visual arts studios with sinks and kind of a wall between them that can be opened up for a larger space or closed off, for 2 studio spaces. We do have a printmaking studio that can handle letterpress, etching, relief prints, intaglio, and we have guides as well that can help you get set up on the particulars of our equipment. But the printmaking studio is really for folks that have demonstrated experience as printmakers. And then we do have a dark room. Oh yeah, the barn. It has a piano, and then also lots of open space for dancers, choreographers. But unfortunately, we don't have dedicated ceramic studio space at this moment, and there's no wood shop, and just some limitations there as well. But if you just need a space to kind of like work and spread out and get messy, we've got you covered probably with the visual art studio space.
Hi, Adam.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Sid. I just had a quick question about the ceramic workspace.
Yeah.
So given that there are no dedicated ceramic facilities, will members still have access to, say, a kiln, or is that not available for residents at the time?
Yeah, it's not really at this time. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay. So if we wanted to use like air dry ceramic, that would be an option, but not if it was needing to be fired in the kiln. Is that correct?
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do get questions too about like collaboratives and collectives, and they're certainly welcome to apply. They have to apply separately and kind of make note of that in their application that they're, would like to apply together. And kind of some other miscellaneous items here as well that's on the portal. It's in the guidelines. But yeah, any other questions? Whether about the application or just resources and stuff here, eligibility. Yeah, Mary Ellen.
I haven't, I think I set up, in the application, I think I set up a password situation or something, and is it pretty straightforward, attaching things, uploading things, or am I plucking text and dumping it in? What am I doing?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's great. And you can certainly save your application and come back to it. Yeah, it's a really great platform. We're lucky to have it submittable. But it never hurts to work off of a Word doc or something and then plug it into if you wanted to be safe that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, Charlotte, I know you joined late. Do you have any questions?
I was going to ask, I apologize for my lateness.
it's
It's
fine.
because I'm visiting my parents in Canada. So
Yeah.
although I am still, I'm from,
Yeah,
I live in
yeah.
New York, just not,
Yeah.
I have dual citizenship. But I'm assuming that when I'm looking at everything, it seems that I probably missed the artist statement piece. So,
Yeah.
I was wondering, I don't know if this is being recorded or not. If it is recorded,
Yep.
can I watch that later so that I don't
Yeah.
force everybody to have to rehear the same stuff?
Yep. Yeah, and we'll have this posted on the residency page of our website by the new
Okay.
year.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
Hey, sound.
Hi. um, Coming on to this, I was aware of the emerging artist application.
Mhm.
So I'm sure I can find this information on the site a little
Mhm.
bit. Could you just say a little bit about the difference between the two? Is it just maybe the
Yeah.
answer is more competitive because it's a larger group, or?
Yeah, I mean the general program gets a little bit more, I think, just because there's more availability. But it doesn't come with any sort of travel or artist stipend. And so artists are covering their own travel costs. We pick folks up at the airport and drop them off, but we do provide chef prepared dinners on weekdays and then all your groceries. So that's different. Whereas the emerging program, there's a travel stipend, there's an artist stipend, there's a little bit of funds availability for photography and documentation and some other stuff too. So yeah.
And both of them deal with chef prepared dinners, but also you have groceries, so that means that you have access to a kitchen.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, there's a kitchen in the house. That's 100% like the chef cooks elsewhere. The kitchen in the house is totally the residence space too.
Thank you.
Yep.
You had mentioned about applying to both.
Yeah.
There's potentiality for that. But I guess my questions would be, don't you have different kind of career expectations of people from those two different groups, a little bit?
Yeah, no, that's a good distinction to make. Yeah, I think that obviously, yes, we do. However, again, like just, having a good mix between disciplines and locations, career types is definitely, or stages is definitely a part of that too. So having emerging artists there at the same time as established artists and getting that exchange going too. We've had some really cool groups that way as well. So yeah.
Okay, because I mean, like for myself, I'm my last large solo show was 2005. I've been doing everything. I've been doing other things, of course, since then, however, in isolation. And so, I'm kind of looking at how do I fit into either of these categories. And, I guess I'll see. I'm working on those. I'm working on that text right now.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, we see that a lot. And obviously like age is not a factor with the emerging artist status. There's stuff on the website about about how we define emerging artists. So yeah, well, yeah, Amy.
Right. Yeah, the cohort, as I'm hearing it, can be a combination or mix of emerging and mid-career, correct?
For the
Or is there's some overlap happening?
for the general one?
Yes.
Yeah, yep, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And there's not a goal, a project that's going to happen, but the connection, the cohort is just connecting and vibing off everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a cabin in the woods or a solitary sort of experience. But yeah, that's a little bit different with our organization, having everyone together in the house like that. As you are working to finalize your applications, don't hesitate to reach out if you have a question. My contact information is up here, and yeah, we can connect over email with specifics. But yeah, definitely don't wait until the last minute either to moving the deadline from like a midnight one to 12 noon, I think might help with some of that, I guess, too. The difference between Central Standard Time and Eastern Time and dates and that kind of a thing. But yeah, thanks again for joining us here this evening and for your interest in the program. And yeah, if you have any other questions, you could let me know right now, but otherwise, we'll be in touch online. Yeah.
Can
My
I
pleasure.
quick again? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
All right.
I'm sorry. I just
Yeah.
remembered. So if you have received, if you've been awarded something that's also Jerome funded,
Yeah.
is that
No, not at all. No.
or anything? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you. Bye. Good luck.
Bye.